Om Shri Swaminarayan Namaha. Om Shri Ghansham Maharajaya Namaha. Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Welcome to SwaminarayanSpirituality.com and all of the related podcast and YouTube recordings and channels. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages in the past, present, and future, and to the one supreme, unparalleled, Purna Purushottam Paratpar Paramatma, residing within the Akshardham, within the heart of every being, in all places at all times. With that bhavna and prarthana, today on November 4th, 2024, we're continuing our exposition of Garuda Pratham, number 1 Vachanamrut, and the continuing exposition on the question of Maya. Govardhan Bhai, who is a householder devotee of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, Shriji Maharaj, has asked this question. In Gujarati, he has said, Jene Bhagwan ni Maya kahe che, tenu roop shu che. What is the form of the Maya of God, of Bhagwan? And Maharaj answered the question this way. Bhagwan no bhakta hoy, tene Bhagwan ni murti nu dhyan karta, je padarth adu avina avran kare, tene Maya kahiye. So this answer that Maharaj has given, Shriji Maharaj has given, we are trying to unfold the depth of this answer and the depth of the question also. So to continue from the last time, we were talking about the dhyan of the murti nu dhyan. We were looking at various footnotes and various ways to understand this. Today I want to go into this in terms of the internal desires, the vasanas that we are all afflicted with from time to time, and how that relates to dhyan. Dhyan meaning meditation. It means this unbroken flow of thoughts, emotions, memories, desires, and energy, the TMDE that we talk about in other programs. The unbroken flow of all 5 aspects towards the chosen deity, towards Ishtadevata. This is the ultimate accomplishment in spirituality. The trouble is that we want the experiences that are underneath Maya, that are underneath the Panchvishayas, or that are within the realm of the Panchvishayas. We want those experiences. And obviously we cannot live without the Panchvishayas, obviously. There's no question about that. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Ras, Gandh are called Panchvishayas. We live in the world of the 5 senses. We have to live in the world of the 5 senses. There's no life without that. But that world of the 5 senses is where we are potentially stuck. So to be unbounded while interacting within a certain boundary of the Panchvishayas is the key towards living liberation, towards liberated living. Liberated living versus bound living. There's a great demarcation between the two. Sachin here speaks for Sachin with the grace of God, Maharaj, all the incarnations of God and all the gurus throughout the world. And in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, there's Guru Parampara. With their krupa, with their grace, we have the opportunity to share and to converse with each other, no doubt through online media, through recordings and whatnot. There's ways of going about this now that are novel and unique, that was not there before. But the point is that the purpose of contemplating on the words of Shri Vachanamrut is for one's own transition from the binding of the Panchvishayas into the non-binding interaction with the Panchvishayas, the unbounded interaction. This should be clear first. This needs to be crystal clear. And for most of us, it is not clear. It is all mixed up. In Gujarati, it is called Gobri Samjan, mixed understanding. It's not clear cut. You see, so let's see if we can, by the grace of Bhagwan and sages, if we can clarify this understanding, make it clear cut. It's not easy to do, but let's try. So first of all, the answer of how to make this clear cut understanding is in this answer that Shriji Maharaj himself has given. Bhagwan nu dhyan karta adu avina avaran. As we are attempting to engage in dhyan, when we attempt to engage in the dhyan, the meditation of the murti, because we are trying to absorb our mind, our senses inside the form of God, Bhagavan nu Swarup, the Swarup of the Lord. We are trying to absorb our mind. Bhagwan nu dhyan karta. Karta means an attempt. Now, I know I've talked about this in some other ways before. Now, we'll talk about it in terms of, actually trying to meditate and see how this separation may occur. When attempt is made to meditate, why should anyone even meditate on the form of God? Well, if we want to reach unbounded interaction with the Panch Vishayas, then systematic step-by-step meditation, dhyan, or to reach that stage of dhyan is necessary. And it's not something that happens just like that within a few hours or a few days, or it is a process. In Sachin's humble interpretation and perspective, all of the different activities performed in the various Swaminarayan temples, or any temples for that matter, throughout the world, in any mandir, organizations, so many are there. They are there to reach this stage. They are all initial steps. They're like, step 1, step 2, step 3. Yeah, of course, you can do meditation inside the temples for some hours, and then the temple closes. You have to leave the temple. You cannot stay in the temple, right? Unless you're a sage or whatever. And then even then, they have the arti is done, the evening ritual is done, they close the curtain. Then you have to still do your dhyan. Dhyan is not only during the times of arti and puja, and that. Those are all initial steps. Even to master those is a big thing. See, we don't even master those initial steps. Where's the issue of reaching akhanda vritti? To master initial steps requires disciplined focus, disciplined activity. Nitya puja, for example, in Swaminarayan Sampradaya, those who are properly following the teachings of Bhagwan Swaminarayan in the Shikshapatri, and then if you are part of the BAPS organization, there is the new scripture that is written, Satsang Diksha, written by Pujya Mahan Swamiji. If you're following that, it's very similar to Shikshapatri. It's, a lot of the same niyams are there actually. Some differences are there in terms of upasana and whatnot, but it's not really anything different. It's just a further exposition on Shikshapatri. But don't want to go into that subject here. My point is that the systematic discipline of waking up at the same time every day, setting up the puja at the same time, Nitya puja, performing the same steps with great devotion and bhakti without break for the same amount of time, for maybe 45 minutes, fixed amount of time, maybe 1 hour, maybe 30 minutes, and completely being absorbed in the perfection, or to pray to God to bless us with the perfection of the steps. Even to do one puja properly and thoroughly is no simple task. That takes years just to be able to do that. This is called cultivated discipline. And if we don't cultivate discipline, our mind will be mixed inside the worldly panch vishayas, in fact bound inside the worldly shabda sparsha rupa rasgandh. We will not get out of it. Now, no doubt people like J. Krishnamurti have talked about uncultivated discipline. But that is what that is. It should not be misunderstood. That is when you have reached the Brahmic state. Then there is no cultivated discipline. In fact, there is 24 hours, one is beyond body consciousness. So that is a Paramahansa level. Even in that level, these rituals are still maintained for the benefit of others. So very high level sages who are present today, they don't have to do any ritual of any kind. They're not doing any puja or anything like that. They are just 24 hours absorbed in God. God is absorbed in them. That's what we want to get to. But even then, they maintain those strict rituals for the benefit of everybody else to reach that stage. They don't have to actually do anything. But that's, it's kind of dangerous to talk about that also, because people say, oh, well, if they don't have to do anything, then why we have to do anything? We're not at that stage like that. And even though they're at that stage, they don't give up all of the niyams and regular routine and their disciplined worship. And they don't do all, you have to do all that thing. But, for the benefit of others and to maintain the body also, to maintain the body in the right way. Again, that's another tangential subject, perhaps, I don't know. That's what the difficulty is with all this, with me. At least start one thing and 100 other things pop up. Anyway, by the grace of Maharaj, hopefully that won't keep happening like that. It'll keep my mind on track. That is my prayer. So anyway, cultivated discipline is the very first step. See, this is why in Swaminarayan Sampradaya, there is Nitya Puja. Morning puja is like absolutely, it is to be done. Food and water is not to be taken until that puja is done. Tilak is placed on the forehead. There's a whole series of steps that are shown. Pradikshina is done, Danvat is done, Mantra is done, Ashtotar Namavali is done, the Sajanan Namavali is done, Janamangal Namavali, so many things. I have seen hundreds of Swaminarayan devotees, all ages, do Nitya Puja. All the saints, of course, do their Nitya Puja very seriously. How beautiful is this? It's a model for the whole world, that whatever tradition, religion one is worshipping in, believing in God in whichever way, without any kind of craziness going on, obviously, fanaticism and hatred and violence, and leaving all those things aside, true devotion, the regular worship, regular systematic worship at the same time every single day without break. What does that do? It builds the mental and spiritual strength from inside. That is Shakti. That is called Adhyatmika Shakti. In Gujarati we say, Baliyo Bhakta Bane. This is expression that is used in Swaminarayan Sampradaya. Baliyo Bhakta. Balwan Bhakta. Gujarati language is beautiful. It has simple language. It's so much beautiful. And I just am familiar with it because of the Swaminarayan Sampradaya. But any language, it's not a question of language or tradition. It's the same truth in any language. Energy doesn't have any language behind it, right? Energy is God's energy. It's universal. So we want to be filled with divine Shakti, Divya Shakti. That Divya Shakti is always dormant within us, but it is activated by the dhyan of Bhagavan and the mahima of the sages. Mahimano vichar. We talked about this a bit last several times. That thought, that feeling of who is with me, who is in front of me, this is called mahima. Who is obtained, who is by grace God has come to us. The scriptures have come to us by krupa. Now all we have to do is to relish and cherish and to further understand what is already obtained. In Gujarati, it is in our Satsang, we say, Prapti no Mahima. Kaun malya? Who has been obtained? Mujhko kaisa karya? How the great sages have molded us. That's what it is. It's a molding. But our ahankar, our ego, which is, under the influence of Maya, that is the avran that Maharaj is talking about. Avran means obstruction, avran shakti, vikshep shakti. These are the obstructions that are keeping us bound in the world of multiplicity. preventing the realization of the Atman and the Brahman and Parabrahman. We are, that's what prevents realization. So, to reach from the inside a stage of unbounded interaction with the material world is what we are trying to do when we are attempting to do dhyan. But if you remember in the past recordings, the Sevak has mentioned that there's something better than trying to do dhyan. That is, with Mahima, dhyan happens by itself. We want to get to that. That will happen. It will happen once the glory is recognized. I've talked about it already. I won't repeat that again here. But until that recognition opens further, there is going to be effort placed. We have to place effort. We cannot simply wash our hands of it and say, I'm not going to place any effort. Some people say this, Bhagwan ki ichha hogi to naam lega Bhagwan ka. It's ridiculous to say those kinds of things. If it is God's will, then I will take the name of God. It's not like that. We don't want to take it. That's why. We want to do everything other than that. And that's why we suffer. What is the cause of our suffering? Our meaning humanity's suffering. We don't want to resonate with truth. We don't want to resonate with love. We don't want to resonate with purity and harmony and equanimity and all these fantastic qualities. We don't want to resonate with that, which is in the lives of the great sages. And that's where the trouble begins. That's where all the problems begin. And that's where the dukkha comes. Dukkha means unhappiness, pain, suffering, hatred, klesh, dvesh, name it. It's just the list goes on. And then we harm ourselves only. We harm ourselves by harmful entanglement and harmful stimulation of the brain, by overstimulating the brain, by over enjoyment of the panch vishayas, the five sense objects. Shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha. You see, that is what damages the mind, the brain, the body. It damages everything, relationships. There is so much damage that is happening in the world today. It has happened in the past, and it will continue to happen also. Because this demarcation between the entanglement interaction with the panch vishayas versus non-entangled interaction with the panch vishayas is not made. That is not made. And because of that, due to that, there is suffering. And that is what is meant by Shuddha Gnan, Divya Buddhi, Buddhivan Bhakta. Shraddha is of course there. But Buddhivan means that the intelligence has been awakened in this demarcation between that which is binding and that which is not binding. And until that demarcation is crystal clear intellectually, and then it comes experientially, there is no liberation. That clarity that spawns from within, that is called Jnanaush. In Vachanamrut, this word is used, Jnanaush. That clarity that spawns from within, that breeds from within. In between the Atma and the Anatma, that is the ultimate clarity. In Sarangpur, one of the Sarangpur Vachanamruts, maybe it's Sarangpur 5 or 6 or something. I'll check the reference. Maharaj says, ek shloke karine, 5 shloke karine, 10 shloke karine, 100 shloke karine, 1000 shloke karine, Atma Anatmani, Vikti Chokhi samjhaye. The Atma and the Anatma. What is not the Atma? What is the Atma? Make that demarcation absolutely lucid and clear, Shriji Maharaj is saying, which is the entire Advaita Vedanta in that one sentence only. But how do we do that? How do we clarify? So then that connects right here into this question of Maya and Dhyan. And that clarity of between the Atma and the Anatma, between this entangled state and the non-entangled state, it dawns from within because that clarity is necessary to reach Atmic consciousness, and that Atmic or Brahmic consciousness is necessary so that we can be qualified, as a prerequisite is necessary to worship Bhagavan Purushottam Narayan. See, we are all worshiping God in our own way, but we are doing it at this stage so that the Atma can be realized. That's why. But there is a bhakti that opens up after the Atma is realized. That is called Brahma Swarupini Bhakti, which we've mentioned before. You may have heard me say this before. That is the kind of bhakti we want, where it is undisturbed. It is bhakti that is no longer sadhan bhakti. It is not the 9 forms of devotion for sadhana point of view. It is the 10th bhakti that has opened. And in that, there is no breakage of bhakti at all. And it is alokika. It is absolutely fantastic bhakti. There's no doing bhakti in that state. That there is bhakti that is erupting every microsecond inside the mind and the body, inside the senses. The entire mind, body, senses, antakarana is completely in the Brahmic state. And in that state, bhakti erupts because of the bhakti that was done in the sadhana time. If you do not have the sakar nishta, swarup nishta in the sadhana time, then bhakti may not remain at all. You'll wind up in aham brahmasmi and it will end right there. That has happened to a lot of people. This Brahma hi sab kuch hai. You see, so this is why during sadhana time, to absolutely get it clear once and for all that Bhagavan does exist as the supreme being beyond the Brahman. Bhagavan is sakar with form. Bhagavan is dvibhuj, can take any form, of course. But it is a divine form. It is not simply the Satchidananda Brahman. That is just some aspect of the Paramatma, of God. Right? This is Swaminarayan Sampradaya. This is Swaminarayan Tattva Gnyan. Sampradaya is the path actually to reach this. But this is the teachings of Shriji Maharaj. If you follow some other approach or some other kind of Gnyan is there, that is already incorporated in this. But Maharaj has talked about this tattvic realization that you don't want to be stuck in the middle somewhere. You want to get all the way to the end point. And that is Bhagavan Purushottam Narayan. Swayam. That is not male or female. That is a Kishore Murti. That's the way it is described. I mean, it's not really describable. It is divine, It is beyond any understanding, beyond any way to describe it. But we still try to describe in our way. So when he's talking about the dhyan of the Murti, Bhagwan ni Murti, why he's saying Murti? Why he's not saying just Bhagwan nu dhyan? Why does he say Murti? The Murti of God, the form of God. Why is he saying that? Because here where we are on earth, there is the form, the Vigraha in the temples. And then as the saints are considered, the great sages are considered to be form of God also. You see, that becomes clear in the mind that there is a form. And so then if we reach the Brahmic state, where the Viveka is so clear between the Atma and the Anatma, where the dhyan is uninterrupted and the obstructions of the vasanas are obliterated, vasanas are gone completely. They're totally destroyed by the grace of God, by the fire of Gnan, by the fire of Vairagya, Gnan and Vairagya Rupi Pakho. The 2 wings of a bird, the bird is the Mumukshu. It's got 2 wings, that is Gnan and Vairagya, and Upasna and Agnya. And then the bird flies into moksha, into mukti. So when that is present so beautifully, then that is where Purna Prasannata, Purna Prem occurs. and bhakti begins to open in its uninterrupted state. So there's so much we can say about this. There's no end to the contemplation. And please do remember, the only reason Sachin is even able to talk about this is because of Guru Krupa. There's no division with anybody. किसी के साथ भेदभाव नहीं है, कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ भेदभाव नहीं है, कोई मनुष्य के साथ भेदभाव नहीं. There's no divisiveness at all. Divisiveness is totally antithetical towards the Brahmic state. We will never reach the Brahmic state as long as we have a divisive mind. It could be because of religious organizations, it could be political organizations, racial divisions, or economic divisions, or with any being there's a division, that I am something greater than even a tree, a frog, a dog. There's no greater or less. There's the Brahman in all and Parabrahman in all. And that's the truth. That's the very simple reality. But we don't seem to understand that. We don't seem to get that. We are so heavily, madly conditioned into divisiveness that's why we suffer. And we cause suffering in others. It's one thing that we suffer ourselves. We cause suffering in others because of this bhed bhav. In Gujarati we say, bhed bhav ni vritti, bhed bhav ubha thai. No doubt, there are thousands of perspectives on everything. You can take the same Vachanamrut, have thousands Swaminarayan sadhus, and they'll interpret in their own way. 1,000 interpretations may be there. That's okay. That's the glory of Sanatana Dharma. Nobody has to have the same interpretation. Have your own interpretation. But more important than interpretation is realization. Interpretation is an intellectual phenomena. Even Sachin right now is speaking. It is some kind of interpretation. It is just by grace, whatever is being spoken for my own benefit, for this mind, that is the will of divine, is being shared with the world community. Whoever may benefit from this, that is the will of God. There's no insistence that so many people should listen to this recording, or maybe only 5 people will, maybe 1 person might, maybe 1 million people will in the future. That's not in my hands, and that is my vision is not even in that direction. The vision or this vision of this sevak is not in this direction. Please forgive me. I don't want to use these words I and mine in these recordings. It is totally antithetical to spirituality to use these words. These words are almost like a poison unless they're really necessary to use. If you will permit this person who is speaking, use the word sevak instead. Say the word sevak is good. So I like that. I mean, so again, I'm using we're so accustomed to that. Try to use the word sevak in speaking about the first person. So in this sevak's perspective that has been given by Paramatma, we as a humanity have to transcend the I and the mind. We can never, under any circumstances, reach the Brahmic state. Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapi Vimuyeti Stitva Syam Antakalepi Brahma Nirvanam Ruchati. This is the last verse of chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. And we cannot reach that stage with this divisiveness. Where there is love, there is no I versus you. Even though there is difference in interpretation of scriptures, there could be different paramparas, different organizations, different ages, different races. Doesn't matter. That's the diversity within Maya. That's okay. That's the way Maya has expressed itself. There's purpose behind that too. And the main purpose of that diversity is that we have the opportunity to look beyond the diversity. That's why the diversity exists. The diversity of names and forms, as per Vedanta, exists because it is created by Paramatma, by Bhagavan. So we have, through the human body and through the senses, to look beyond that diversity. That vision beyond division is inward evolution. A vision that develops Jnana Drishti, Paramatma Drishti, Atma Drishti, Brahma Drishti. Vision beyond division. See, in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, the gurus teach us, and they say in Gujarati, they say, Darek ne mukta tarike jova. See all the devotees as liberated beings. Actually, to see every being as a liberated being, that's the highest. But that's very, very difficult to even understand, not to mention to realize. But we have to start somewhere. That starting point itself is tricky. Within an organization, within a group, within a certain parampara, to see all of those interconnected with the guru or with the parampara as divine. See, like in the Vaishnav Sampradayas, they use this word Prabhuji to they are trying to see God in each other. In the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, everyone says Jai Swaminarayan, or they will touch each other's feet, or there's Mahima. You'll see this in the temples. In all the temples, you'll see the same thing. It starts with Dasatva. Das na das, thaine raho Satsang ma, bhakti bhali mani shrachishta narang ma. You'll see this throughout the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, everywhere, in all of the different organizations. Devotees always touch each other's feet. Why is that? Because it is an attempt to see that Paramatma in the other person, and not to see that person and the body and the mind and the divisiveness and all the mess that our mind is clogged with. See, that is the beauty of a sampradaya. That is the beauty of a spiritual path, of a Guru Parampara. Because it is a beginning for us. Now, that doesn't mean that if you go shopping in Acme, that you're going to go to the cashier and touch the feet of the cashier and say Jai Sri Krishna or Jai Swaminarayan or something like that. Because that is not you have to keep in mind the context. But internally, in the vision, there's nothing preventing us from seeing the Lord in that person. You don't have to say Jai Swaminarayan to that person, or Jai Sri Krishna, or Jai Janindra, or Sat Shri Akal, or any of those appellations that are used in the Eastern traditions. Because they don't know that. We have to keep that in mind also. But in our internal vision, when you see that individual, as Bhagwan Krishna says, see me everywhere. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. This is the ultimate teaching. And this is dhyan. When Shriji Maharaj is saying, do dhyan of the murti, many of us might think we're just doing dhyan of the murti in our home temple, or in our, in the some Swaminarayan temple, or some Vaishnava temple, or any temple for that matter. Or during the time of Maharaj is saying, just do dhyan of me. Yes, that's true. I mean, all of that is correct. But it doesn't mean that restriction. Maharaj himself told the Paramahansas in Vedas, beautifully he has stated, that wherever you go, you just see me. Maro bhav darek ma rakho, darek thekane rakho. That I am present everywhere, in everything, in everyone. You keep that in your mind. He told the Paramahansas this. This is what the Gita is teaching. This is what all great sages teach. And he's speaking, when he says about the I, that's not any ahankar or anything. That is he's speaking the spiritual I. The Parabrahma Tattva is speaking there. Anyway, that's another subject altogether. But that's the whole point. If you're going to an Acme, or to a Target, or to the mall, or somewhere, can we still see the same Paramatma in those places? We have probably not that much difficulty feeling that we're going into a very holy place, into a temple. And of course, temples have their holiness. But does it mean that God doesn't exist in other places? No. God exists everywhere. Ishavasya midam sarvam. We know this. Everybody knows this. But do we live that? And that is the avran of Maya. When Maharaj is saying, कि ध्यान करता जे आड़ू आविने आवरण करे, the avran is what? If I walk into Macy's in the mall, yes, at one level I'm walking into Macy's. At one level the sevak is walking into Macy's. But at another dimension, there's only Akshardham. That's the reality. The other is Maya. The other is within the names of forms, has relative Satyam. It is Vyavharika Satyam, Pratibhasika Satyam. But if the bhakta is living in communion with the Lord, as the Christians would say, to be in communion with God, to commune with Jesus, right? That idea. If we are in that state of communion, then our vision is Paramarthika Satya, our action is Vyavharika Satya. With the realization of seeing through the Pratibhasika Satyam. This is explaining here. If this sevak walks into J.C. Penney or into Macy's, all three levels are applicable. This is where the reality opens up in its sense. You can see the play of Maya. You can see the reflection of the Brahman. And at the same time, the Paramarthika Satyam, that there is only Parabrahman. In Karyani 7, Vachanamrut. Karyani is a small village, by the way. We have to talk about Charitra some other time. Paramatma ki Ichha. Big, massive ideas are there in these small villages. Sarangpur, Karyani, Panchala. Massive ideas are there. They're mind-blowing ideas. And Maharaja said in Karyani 7, कि ज्या दृष्टि करे त्या पुरुषोत्तम सिवाय भगवान सिवाय अणु मात्र बिजु ना भासे. But after realization of the Paramarthika Satyam, there is only God everywhere. That is our goal. That sounds very nice. I mean, I've talked about it before, or the Sevak has talked about it before. And the only purpose of talking about it now is that by talking about it, by thinking about it, by contemplating on it, we can share with each other. We have to share this. This is not to remain in the books, and it's not to be remained in just the Gujarati language or just the Hindi language or one tradition. It has to open for everyone. See, one of the great things to learn from Christianity is that they translated the Bible in all the languages. They sent missionaries out. Of course, they want to promote Jesus. That's their prerogative to do so. Why not? What's wrong in that? They're not killing anybody, hopefully. They're not harming anybody, right? They're trying to convince others. Okay. Well, that's, many Hindu organizations have done similar things. Everyone has the prerogative. But never to dislike anybody, not to hurt anybody. You see, and not to damage somebody else's faith by force. That is important. Again, another subject altogether. But the point is, when we reach this stage, as Muktanand Swami mentioned so fantastically, Jya juve tya Ram ji, biju na bhaase re, bhat dekhi bhule nahi, anubhav ujase re, anubhavi anandama, govinda gave re. We'll cover those verses some other time. Maybe when we talk about the question of Muktanand Swami, the next question he asks about, about the Brahmamay Shari. We'll talk about it in 2025. So maybe we can probably spend the whole year on the third question. I don't think we can ever get out of this first. You can never get out. You see, it's when you open the crack into infinity, how can you get out of that? It's not possible. Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. And Sachin is just an ordinary sevak, trying to be a sevak. There's no class of any kind. There are so many enlightened sages and devotees. We are just a small particle of dust, that's all, micro dust. There's absolutely nothing of any consequence in the personality that is Sachin. What is of consequence? Consequence is the truth that is shining through the minds of the great sages, that is coming into our minds and is being expressed as seva. That is an attempt to express. Even we have no capacity to talk about these things. Kya capacity? But that doesn't mean we shouldn't. Just because we don't have that full capacity now doesn't mean that we should not attempt. Everyone should attempt to do their puja, to do bhajans, to do kathavarta. And by the way, I've met many devotees, even in Swaminarayan Sampradaya. It's a lot of places we cannot do this exposition on the scriptures. Why not? Because all you've done is listened. You try it, read it, make a few points. And if we start doing it, you'll be able to do it. Pray to the great sages. Why to do the exposition? Because it clarifies our own understanding. Here, Sachin has made, I don't know how many recordings over the years on so many different subjects. For who? For what purpose? You see, the only purpose is that is something that is a passion. So God says, okay, He gave that opportunity, make it, do it. For who? It's for my own mind, for this mind only. If others are benefited by that, that is the divine will, divya ichha. There's no Sachin involved in that. You see, but people get tangled up, in so many ways. And forgive the sevak for saying so, but some organizations restrict devotees from, giving expositions. Maybe they have their reason behind that, and I'm not criticizing it. There definitely is probably some good reasons behind it. But leaving that aside, even if you're part of an organization, they still have a system set up to do exposition, to do study. Start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Do it in their framework. Doesn't matter which organization it is. In Christianity, it is there. In all the sampradayas in Sanatan Dharma, it is there. And if you're not part of any particular organization, start trying to do it. Listen carefully, make some points, write some things down, try to do some exposition. You'll see how much benefit comes out of that. It helps the person tremendously who is giving the exposition. But again, one has to be careful. Like Sachin is speaking now, if even the thought comes, a micro thought comes, that Sachin is trying to convince somebody. This sevak is trying to explain something to somebody to convince them to follow my way and all that. Then I'm lost. Then that is Maya. There's nobody trying to convince anybody here. This is simply an opportunity, an attempt to share. And see, even that is very hard, to use a non-hierarchical approach of sharing. Otherwise, most people are trying to dump some knowledge or something on somebody else's head. You follow what I'm telling you to do. My organization, my guru, my this, my that, my this, my... It doesn't ever stop. Okay, maybe there's value in that, but one has to be careful that we're simply transmitting what has been given in parampara, what has been given in the scriptures, and do it in a non-hierarchical platform. Then we can share and grow together. Let us think together. Let us play together. Let us pray together. Let us contemplate together. Let us have divine prasad together. It is such a tragedy in the world today that different organizations, and I won't go into all this, but I'm sorry, Sachin I ask forgiveness for even bringing this up. But there are so many organizations that don't want to talk to each other. Their devotees don't want to talk to each other. Because of some disagreements, some minor disagreements sometimes, or some major disagreements. Doesn't matter what the disagreements are. Come together. Offer the prasadam, offer the fruits and flowers and everything, whatever is dal, bhat, khichdi, rotli, as we say in Gujarati. Offer it to the Lord and sit together on the same table and love each other. Why is that not happening? In our own Sanatana Dharma, it is not happening. Again, see how ridiculous this language is. Why isn't it happening throughout the world, and the religious people, why they're not doing this? It's a baffling question. When every religion talks about universal love, every major religion talks about love thy neighbor as thyself. How is it that we're not doing this? And see, this is Avran, when Maharaj is talking about Bhagwan ni Murti nu dhyan kar. This is a massive, ridiculous Avran that is there. And we're not able to come out of it because of people being afraid to talk to each other. If I go to some other place, then I'll lose my faith, and everybody's trying to throw their ideology on somebody else. This is not spirituality. It is a form of damaging the other person. Sorry to say this. May God forgive me if I'm saying something wrong here. Such Sevak is saying something wrong here. I don't know. But it feels right to say this. Because it is a damage to each other, to cause damage to somebody else's belief. Don't cause damage to somebody else's belief. Try to commune with them and try to understand and have a respectful conversation over a beautiful fruit plate. We don't have to thrash another person's belief by imposing, but the whole agenda is to thrash the other person. I've seen this happen countless times. This is not spirituality. To thrash somebody else. True gurus never do that. No doubt they follow their path. No doubt they have their realizations. No doubt they are promoting certain things in their ministry or in their group or in their sampradaya, whatever. But never to thrash another. Always, love must never, ever, under any circumstances, be damaged due to disagreements, due to different perspectives. There are always going to be different perspectives. There are always going to be different interpretations. There are always going to be differences in life. That's the beauty of life. Can we see the beauty of differences and express the undifferentiated love within those differences? That is dhyan that Shriji Maharaj is talking about. Now, how can this even be explained to anybody? I have no idea. Sachin has no idea. But this is what is inside this mind by the Guru Krupa. This is the fact of the matter. Differences are always going to be there. Interpretations are always going to vary. You can take the same Vachanamrut. I can prove it to you if somebody wants to come to my place. There are at least 10,000 files on Vachanamrut only. From every file that I could ever find, from every Swaminarayan sadhu who has put material online. It is extraordinary what is there. And are there differences of interpretation? Of course there are. Just on Vachanamrut, not to mention the Gita, not to mention the Upanishads, even Shankaracharya ji and Ramanujacharya differ. Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya ji differ. They all differ from each other in some way. So what? If they all sat at a kitchen table having fruits, bananas, pineapples, coconut, having a beautiful fruit salad, do you think that they will have even the slightest dislike for each other? How ridiculous. What have we learned from our acharyas? What have we learned from our scriptures? Is this what we have learned? To not take the good qualities from others, to not even talk to others who disagree with us? How foolish is this? How damaging is this? And because we don't know how to do this, due to the engulfment and entrapment into the fanaticism that is created out of belief systems. Belief systems are not there to create fanaticism. They are there to create discipline and dhyan on the Murti of God. And that is the key here, that the belief systems that exist, they are not to create divisions. They are to actually break divisions and solidify devotion in the path that the Guru has shown you. But how to express, where to express? That's why Sachin humbly is just putting this on YouTube, and if anybody listens to it, if it is the will of God for anybody to understand, because this is our human problem. It's remarkable how all the divisions disappear in a casino. It's remarkable when drug addicts come together, all the divisions disappear. Or, I'm sorry to use this example, when people are engaged in all kinds of sexual stuff, divisions seem to disappear there also, right? Nobody cares about any kind of division. Well, maybe there's something to learn from that also. If these people who are trapped in those kinds of activities are breaking divisions, and then why can't all the religious people in the world break their divisions? Which one is greater? Tell me. Which one is in a non-divided state? Sounds ridiculous, right? To say this. Of course, those people are doing things, those people are involved in drugs and gambling and theft and who knows, whatever they're doing. Even if it's in the wrong direction, their minds they enter a kind of, some kind of a non-duality there. They don't care. Like if people going into a casino, they're all thinking the same thing. They don't know each other. There's a groupthink phenomena right there. Groupthink, look it up sometime online, what it means. You see? Isn't it interesting? All the divisions, all the races, it doesn't matter, at a blackjack table or roulette table, slot machines or whatever, all different people are sitting, but they all have the same thought in their mind. They want to win. And they seem to be connected to each other somehow. That is the Maya. That is the power of Maya. But if that can happen in Maya, why can't it happen on a path that is outside of Maya? Think about this. Look at this question carefully. Sachin's the Sevak's only prarthana is for anybody listening to this, go to your favorite temple, your favorite sampradaya, favorite whatever XYZ, and ask this question in front of the Lord and see the answer that comes. This doesn't mean to divert from the path one is on. It doesn't mean to change the guru or anything, but it means to not damage love. Even when there is disagreement, there must never be dislike, and meet each other, talk to each other, try to learn from each other, keep the mind open, don't close the mind further and further. But the closed-mindedness, it creates hatred. It creates the enhancement of ego. The illusion of spirituality is the enhancement of ego inside a group. And the expansion of spirituality is the dissolving of the ego through the group. Let's stop here for now, because if we don't stop now, I will never be able to. Sachin the Sevak will not be able to stop this. So let's take a little break here. We'll continue on this tomorrow. Om Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Pujamulam Gurur Padam Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa Tameva Mata Chapita Tameva Bandhusha Sakha Tameva Vidya Dravinam Tameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Shri Swaminarayanaya Namo Namaha. Swaminarayan, 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 Shri Swaminarayanaya Namo Namaha. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha.